that to have attracted such great souls to come here to ISV. Thank you very much. Hare entire project at ISV has been a long-term series of incremental improvements. Looking every month to see what little thing we can fix and doing it in the time that everyone has, and it seems to add up over time, so we're going to keep doing it. And today, and tomorrow, we're celebrating this culmination of opening the new temple here in Mountain View, which Radhanath Maharaj noted was Giriraj Darshan. And we'll begin this morning by hearing from some of our guests who have come here, some of the senior devotees. And the topic is encouraging words for one's sadhana and for helping to expand the community. So the devotees who will be speaking today will give their heartfelt experience and realization about how one can make advancement in devotional service and how best to organize a community so that it will be progressive and Krishna conscious, and all the devotees will be able to overcome obstacles of all kinds. And this morning we have the great honor of welcoming one of the original devotees of ISKCON, Her Grace Malati Devi Dasi. Because we know her to be extremely dear to Srila Prabhupada, we take it as a great honor that she's here today for this inauguration, and we take it as a sign as Srila Prabhupada's mercy. And now we invite Malati Devi Dasi, if someone will please set up the microphone for her, to give us a few words. And Nirkula, you'll have to work out what the timing is as we go forward, because I'm not even sure what time it is right now. How much time we have?
We have till 10.
What's that?
We have till 10 o'clock.
We have to 10 o'clock, so just a few minutes. So we'll have to divide the time accordingly, so maybe you can give signals and things like that. We welcome Malati Devi Dasi.
When I come to such a wonderful event as an opening of another wonderful ISKCON center, on behalf of Srila Prabhupada to push forward the Sankirtan movement, and there's such heartfelt enthusiasm in this, was just mentioned. Actually, years of incremental planning for this. It'll be like a few minutes when the day's over. It'll seem that way. A moment is like 12 hours or more. And I reflect back in the actual beginning era, of which, by Krishna's grace, and it's inconceivable to actually have someone like myself who was just a foolish young American hippie girl, would come in contact with His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, at a time when there was just a little handful of men and women, very young. The oldest person in the movement that wasn't even defined as a movement at that time was about 27. and then it went down back the other direction. So when we would open our temples, it was, to be honest, almost an unnoticed event. There was little ceremony. In the case of, I can speak from the second temple opening because that's where I came in the door. And we had leading a small group, Mukunda and his wife, then Janaki, Mukunda Adhikari at the time, and Janaki, and myself and my soon-to-be husband. We were still Melanie and Sam. And Joan and her friend Roger. And we just came down to San Francisco. Roger was already there, but the rest of us, the other 5 of us, traveled from Oregon to San Francisco. And the mission was to open a temple. The only 2 people in the group, the only 3 were Janaki and Mukunda. They had met Prabhupada. They were initiated. They were the first marriage in ISKCON performed by His Divine Grace. Janaki wore a sari for the first time at her marriage. In fact, that's the way it was for most of us in those first few marriages. Her sister Joan, who was to become Jamuna, had gone back for her sister's wedding, so she had seen a temple, which in those days was only 26 2nd Avenue, a small little storefront which could probably fit about 1, 2, 3 times into this whole space from wall to wall. Not significantly large, but in our hearts and in our vision it was very big. Mukunda and his wife, Janaki, were actually planning to go to to India. And it occurred to him that maybe he should ask the Swami whether or not there was something he could do for him before he went. And the answer was, since he was going to the West Coast, why don't you see if you can open a new center? That's not exactly what he had in mind, but he accepted the desire and the instruction of Srila Prabhupada. So he collected myself and my husband, who at that point in time as members of the hippie tradition in Sampradaya, we weren't married. We were living together, as it was on the top of a mountain in Oregon, employed by the federal government and looking out for fires. The only fire we weren't thinking about was the fire of devotional service. So they stopped and they asked if we'd like to join them to open a temple. And in my infinite wisdom, I asked, what is a temple? And he answered very truthfully for that time, it was a storefront painted white. So already we had noticed some difference in their demeanor. When they arrived at our mountaintop, we were actually not present, we were on another mountaintop. And we returned, we saw this car with a New York plate. They had come from New York. And we were wondered who it was, and we were really excited when we opened our door. It was a small little one-room cabin in the woods to find our dear friends. And as it was in the Vedic civilization, you offer your friends something valuable. You make them welcome. You offer them something in greeting. But we hadn't planned on anybody coming, and they'd already been in and made them, they'd already taken their seat, as it were, so we couldn't even offer them a seat. So we offered them something that was very dear to us in those days, which was LSD. And we were surprised that they politely declined. Then they told us that they had new names, that Mike had become Mukunda and Jan had become Janaki. So, another interesting change. And when we entered, actually, Janaki was already cooking something on her little wood stove. And I didn't initially notice what the ingredients were, or maybe you could say what they weren't. But she was making some kind of little balls out of dough and rolling them. Giraj Maharaj ki jai. Swami ki jai. Little round balls, rolling them out and putting them on the fire, and they were puffing up. So, to the uninitiated person, culturally and cuisine-wise and otherwise, I just couldn't imagine what was going on. It just seemed so mystical, actually, that some little dough ball flattened out would like puff up. And before we took their meal, they bowed their head in prayer. And at those days we didn't have the whole Saryar Vintajal, but we chanted the small mantra. So then I realized, there was no meat, fish, or eggs in this meal. And they explained that this was part of their new life. So it's really seeming like a big change had come over them. No more drugs, and they'd gotten married. That was, quite a phenomenon in those days for the young people. And the no drugs, the new names. And then he said that after dinner, I want to show you a book. So after we had eaten, he brought out the first three, it's the volume 1 in 3 parts, the original edition of Srimad Bhagavatam that His Divine Grace brought with him as his precious cargo when he came to the Western world. And it was at that time that I became connected with Srila Prabhupada. The hippies were on one level just, crazy, foolish people, but at another level there was a very wonderful part of the hippies, which when they were very open and inquisitive, as opposed to the regular society at that time, which most of us were trying to get out of. They wouldn't automatically denounce something if they didn't understand it or it looked different. There was an inquisitive, and most of us really wanted to know if there was truth. We wanted to know truth, but it was not really forthcoming. And then all kinds of, false conclusions. I'm God, you're God. There's no God. God is everything, everywhere. Kind of half understandings of truth. The I'm God, you're God thing just didn't set well with me because I looked at my life and I thought, my God, if I'm God, this is bad news. So, I got this slide. The book was opened. The book was shown to me, opened up. And between the cover and just the first few shlokas, this willingness to resist any type of spiritual authority was washed away from my heart and my mind. My husband had always said, we need to get a guru. And my stupid little voice would go, you can get a guru. I don't want a guru. I don't want anyone to tell me what to do with my life. I want to make my own mistakes, you know. So that was, you know, typical foolish attitude. And then I looked at this book, and on the cover was a blue form on a snake with four, and the form had 4 arms, and then out of the form's belly came another form with 4 heads. And then there was all these little planets with replicated forms. I asked Mukunda, what is this? Who is that? He said, this is God. And immediately I could accept, yes, God can't be like us, and we're not like that, at least, you know. So just was immediately, there's God, and here he is. And then looking through the book, just not even having a clue what was Sanskrit, but seeing the Sanskrit and finding out this was the original language, and then the word-by-word transliteration. And I kept seeing this one phrase in the purports, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that was just supremely wonderful. So I wanted to meet this person, the person who was bringing this profound knowledge in such a way. And thus my interest in meeting Divine Grace was developed. And we agreed to go to San Francisco and establish a little storefront temple. And it was just very, almost casual. And we found a little storefront. We were painting it. We had no pictures on the walls. We hadn't really seen any pictures of Krishna except for the book. And one person came in while we were painting, and he goes, what are you doing? And I told him, well, we're making a temple. And this person said, I just come back from India and I'm an artist, so I'll make you a picture. And interestingly enough, he made a picture of Vishnu. He brought it over. And it was 4 arms, that was all there, blue hue. But it was Vishnu flying out of a volcano. He took a little artistic license. That was our singular piece of art on the wall, along with a Moroccan prayer mat, which the Muslims use, but Shamsundar had been in Morocco practicing herbology, and he put this, he had that with him, so that was on the wall behind the dais where Srila Prabhupada would sit. We didn't use the word Vyasasana in those days. It was just a very simple opening, and it wasn't even grand. It just, okay, we're finished, and we just started doing what we do, and then all of a sudden the grand opening was when Srila Prabhupada arrived. Here he has arrived along with Radha Madan Mohan, Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu, and Sri Sringadeva Lakshmi. And we're allowed entrance into this Vaikuntha atmosphere. Let's pray that the Vaikuntha atmosphere always remains in our heart, and we can joyfully pass it on to others. Hare Krishna.
I'd like a warm welcome to His Holiness Giridhar Swami Maharaj. Swami Maharaj. Thank you, His Holiness Devamrita Swami. His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj says the temple's really nice. And now we're going to ask His Holiness Devamrita Swami. To speak to us some encouraging words about our devotional lives, how to move forward progressively in our personal lives and in developing a Krishna conscious community and spreading it to others. He's had experience all over the world. I could say harrowing experiences all over the world. He's risked his life to spread Krishna consciousness in places behind the Iron Curtain before there was any Krishna consciousness, when one had to risk one's life to smuggle books across borders and so forth. And he's had success all over the world. He's much sought after in every part of the world and has developed communities, and most notably in New Zealand. There's a thriving community with innovative approaches to balancing the community and helping devotees in their spiritual lives and spreading Krishna consciousness in dynamic ways. He's been a well-wisher of ISV for many years and a personal mentor of mine, and we feel very honored to have His Holiness here today for the inauguration of this temple. Please welcome His Holiness Devamrita Swami. Near Kula Devi Dasi, you'll see at the back in blue, she'll be keeping the time. How much time does everyone have near Kula?
About 18 minutes.
Oh.
Jai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It is with particular satisfaction that I receive such an honor to address this world-famous enthusiastic bhakti community. Why is the ISV community world-famous? Because it's a community with the wisdom of Srila Prabhupada's books at the center. We're living in a country that, well, used to be known as being very opulent. And it's still very opulent for some. But there's always been something missing, whether the level of opulence for the general population rises or falls. There's always been something missing, and that is wisdom. In case you haven't noticed, Americans don't really know what to do with themselves. Other than make business and make war. Those two things they have down very well. As one president of the USA said early in the 20th century, America only has one business. That's business. So, this country has a history of having everything except profound knowledge. So now we look at the Silicon Valley area. We look at ISV, presided over by Sri Radha Madan Mohan Sriman Mahaprabhu, valiantly led by His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu, striving very diligently to fulfill Srila Prabhupada's innermost desires. And what we see in this devotional community is the practical dynamics that come by taking Srila Prabhupada's books as your life and soul. In my travels around the world, in my tiny way, I urge devotees I urge them about two things. love to read Srila Prabhupada's books and love to distribute them. And we see that this community vividly exemplifies those principles. Therefore, it can actually become a beacon, not only for this part of California, not only for the USA, but for the whole world. This community is showing the relevance in our day-to-day life of what Srila Prabhupada gave us in the form of his books. I remember Dhananjaya Prabhu, senior Vaishnava, personally telling me how Srila Prabhupada told him that, in other words, they were making a thought experiment, hypothetical situation. And Srila Prabhupada said, suppose all the temple presidents leave ISKCON. Suppose all the pujaris leave. Suppose all the leaders go. Still, because my books are there, someone will read my books and know exactly how to restart the Hare Krishna movement. Of course, we look at this thriving community and we see that not everyone's leaving. In fact, more and more are coming and more are staying. So we have to look at the heart of the situation and see, where does this vitality of this ISV community come from? And from what I can discern based on my analysis of what you're doing here, the community is thriving because it's basing its day-to-day practical endeavors on Srila Prabhupada's books as the foundation for community development and community expansion. Now, many of you may be taking your new temple project as nothing big, because actually there are bigger ISKCON temples opening. There are more majestic temples opening, especially in India. But here we see a well thought out temple acquisition and renovation, which proceeded in harmony with the distribution of Srila Prabhupada's books. So this temple community demonstrates a very important point, that by focusing on the books, it doesn't mean that other things will be neglected. In fact, other things are prospering very nicely because the yajna is being performed. Of course, I'm sure you've heard this so many times in better ways from His Grace ISKCON. Feed that yogic fire the ghee it wants, and then everything else prospers. Many, I'd have to say many devotees in North America may take that as kind of old-fashioned, been there, done that, or even an invitation for fanaticism or exclusivism, or an invitation for false prestige. So our ISKCON society desperately needs an example of a community that shows it can be, well, it's California, so I'll use the word holistic. Encompassing all beneficial elements for fulfilling Srila Prabhupada's desire. So you see that the devotees are happy in this community. You see they're well cared for, they're well led, they're well fed. All that's going on with Srila Prabhupada's books as the foundation. So in other words, this ISV community is showing that a focus on Srila Prabhupada's books doesn't diminish the development of community spirit, devotee care, what to speak of, temple development. It's all going on here in a very balanced way. You're not racking up huge debts in order to show the world that your temple is the most majestic. Everything is kept in perspective because of the focus on the prime yajna. Yajnaya sankirtana praya yajanti suvedas. So for that example, I'm very grateful. The USA needs wisdom. Wisdom means not just books kept on a shelf, but wisdom means a wisdom culture. A culture dedicated to acquiring wisdom and applying wisdom. When people can see that in their loneliness, which afflicts the population so greatly today, they'll be attracted. First of all, it's glorious to have wisdom. But secondly, to have a community based on applying that wisdom, that is such a powerful force. I was speaking a few weeks ago in Toronto, at the University of Toronto. And how are we doing for time?
You're good, Mama. You have about 10 minutes.
Okay. So the subject that I chose, I didn't think anyone was going to be interested. It was called The Wisdom Culture and the Brain Dead. Now this is University of Toronto. It's the most prestigious school in Canada. And the students are actually real students who study. And they have a feeling that they're going places. So I was shocked when I showed up for the program and the room was jammed. And I spoke about the need for a wisdom culture, for developing personalities with the qualities Krishna points out in Bhagavad Gita. Shamadhamastapa Shojam Shantiya Arjavamevajana Jnanam Vijnanamastikyam Brahmakarmasana. The fruit of a wisdom culture is persons who are in control of their mind and senses, the Brahmana qualities, and they have both theoretical and applied knowledge. So I explained to the people that without this thriving wisdom culture, what is their hope? I was shocked. At the end of the lecture, they all applauded. I, of course, explained, in case they didn't know, what it's like to be part of the brain dead. It's one thing to talk about that, but it's another thing to have a community to point to, which can exemplify what is a dynamic, thriving wisdom culture. People want to know, and they want to be part of a group of people who know. Naturally, people are afraid of fundamentalism. The Taliban, the fundamentalists, they say, we know. We shouldn't be intimidated by that because we actually have the merchandise. We have the product that can show people here is real knowledge, and what's more, we have a community based on that knowledge. I spoke briefly in the beginning about loneliness. In case you don't know the social statistics, and I know the Indian community is a bit different. They're about, let's say, 20 years behind the curve in terms of all the nectarian anartas of the USA. It's coming, though. Don't worry. It's coming. If not you, your children. So, people, sociologists point out, are more lonely than ever before. They have very few close friends outside of their immediate family. And even the immediate family is breaking apart. In case you don't know the social statistics, more American children live in a home with not their original parents there than do. And for women who are 30 and under, more children are born to them out of marriage than within. So, even when you look at the family situation, it's breaking apart. And that certainly will affect the Indian community. Not now, in a few years. Because human beings are creatures of influence. You get carried away by the prevailing winds. But even if you would accept the family unit as intact, which it isn't, people have very few friends beyond that. They're more lonely than ever before, in spite of all the smartphones, in spite of all the social networking websites, in spite of all the high tech for bringing people together. People are they're farther apart than ever before. So this shows us the prime necessity for having a thriving bhakti community. And that community is not based on sentiment, although sentiment is important for human beings, but it's not the ultimate. The bedrock foundation of the community has to be the highest wisdom, the highest knowledge. And then let people see how that's practically being applied. I'm sure that if you continue to develop in this way, your community will continue to expand gloriously. And I'm particularly also indebted to this community for showing that Krishna consciousness doesn't have to be so intricate and mental. The soul wants to engage in devotional service. You have your motto, ISV, individual, spontaneity, voluntary. That's what the spirit soul wants. But people can't understand that until they see it. And the stronger the community is, providing people an example to see their real necessities, what they really want, the more people will benefit. So I thank you very much for exemplifying the glories of Srila Prabhupada's books and a community based on those books. This is the best thing for our devotees, and this is the best thing for the people in general. The development and spread of a wisdom culture. That's what the USA has lacked. You've seen the money culture, you've seen Silicon Valley high-tech culture, you've seen a war culture, but we haven't never in American history seen a wisdom culture. So you all are beginning that contribution, and this is what Srila Prabhupada wanted so strongly. So I thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Thanks again to His Holiness Devamrita Swami. Hare Krishna. In baseball in America, we have the cleanup batter, they call it, who bats forth the last batter in case the bases are loaded and he can hit a grand slam. That doesn't mean anything to you, don't worry. Cricket. Oh. Unfortunately, I can't make a cricket analysis. I don't know anything about it. However, His Holiness Giriraj Swami, we've asked him, and he's requested to bat cleanup today. And Ritadbhaj Swami Maharaj has asked to be the penultimate speaker, so he'll go right before Giriraj Swami Maharaj. So I'm going to make a few comments. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Premanande Hare. In the Damodar Leela, Mother Yashoda chases after baby Krishna to bind him with some rope to protect him, basically, from running wild. And as she ties him up, or tries to tie him up, she notices that the rope is 2 inches too short. And she adds more rope, and it's still 2 inches too short. And her friends, neighboring friends, begin to add rope to her collection, and she includes that, and still the rope is 2 inches too short in tying Krishna. And finally Krishna agrees to be tied by the rope. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has said that when Krishna saw that Mother Yashoda was perspiring and he showed compassion on her, he allowed himself to be tied up. And therefore he notes that these 2 inches are significant. 1 inch means our personal endeavor, the perspiration, the hard work it takes to move forward in Krishna consciousness, to wake up every day and begin again, even though the mind has to be reset every morning. It's not the same mind it was the night before. And where did it all go? And from season to season, and from one calamity to the next, which is inevitable in the material world, because there are so many changing, shifting sands here, we're bound to run into all kinds of difficulties. One must go on with one's Krishna consciousness, and throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that this is the hallmark of an advanced devotee, that despite the changing seasons and the changing mind, one goes on with devotional service. This requires perspiration, difficult, a struggle at some times. And when Krishna sees that's there, he also gives his mercy. And we've seen that in the development of this community. Every day there's some challenge, every week there's some challenge, every month there's some challenge, but it's a blissful challenge because we know that we're properly aligned. We're doing our work as a dedication to our founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So it's all worth it. And we feel in that also that how Krishna's meeting us, that other inch. And constantly as we give our endeavor, he comes forward to show us something miraculous that we never saw before and we didn't know where it came from. And therefore the whole process of Krishna consciousness and developing together as a community has been miraculous and amazing at every step. But sometimes because of the nature of this world, the nature of the mind, and the nature of social intercourse, the very fact that we have to work together. It's much easier just to work by yourself or do something independently. In fact, sometimes I tell devotees who are concerned about the level of difficulty of working together as a team sometimes, that in previous ages, sages would go to the forest and they would surround themselves by freezing cold water in the winter and burning hot fires in the summer, and they would sit there and tolerate for the sake of detaching themselves from the body. But I say in this day and age, as is our mandate, cooperating for the sake of pushing on the Sankirtan movement is a much more difficult austerity sometimes than sitting in cold water or sitting in fire. But a necessary one, because it is the mandate of our previous acharyas to somehow or other find unity and diversity and to cooperate together for the movement, for the sake of the movement. And I've been particularly interested lately in noticing how much Prabhupada emphasizes the Sankirtan movement. And movement means somebody has to move. And it means that there's work to be done. And within that, there's advancement in devotional service. The hard work that it takes to spread the Krishna consciousness movement, to work together, to place orders for books, this whole exercise of building this temple, in fact, even finding the temple after looking at maybe 100 places. Is that exaggeration?
No.
A little bit of exaggeration. Okay, 72. And worrying about each one of them. Every one of them was a concern because is it big enough? Does it have the right things? It's way too expensive. We don't have the money. Where's the money going to come from? And so forth. These things led to lots and lots of conversations, sleepless nights, and so forth. How did it all happen? Because we stuck together and we kept trying. This is what a movement is made up of, devotees who stick together and they keep trying for the sake of the movement. And within that, there's advancement in devotional service internally, miraculously. In the Chaitanya Chandamrita by Prabodhananda Saraswati, there's a statement by that great acharya that when one serves the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then naturally love for Radha and Krishna begins to flood the heart. And in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's song, Doyal Nitya Chaitanya Bole Nachare Arman, he says, Eshe Vrindavan Radhesham Bhave Darshan. Gaura Kripa Halehe. If you get the mercy of Lord Gauranga, then at the end you'll see Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. And Prabhupada says that in a commentary to one of Narottam Das Thakur's songs, that if one dives in the ocean of the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which he exemplified by his hard work of starting the Krishna consciousness movement, then one will emerge on the shore of the pastimes of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. So this working together for the sake of the movement leads to higher stages of devotion. It leads to Vrindavan. It is the path of success, as exemplified by Srila Prabhupada. And also, the forming of a community was shown by Srila Madhavendra Puri. I'm always impressed by the story of how he discovered Gopal, who revealed himself to Madhavendra Puri in a dream, and then Madhavendra Puri revealed to the townspeople where he was located in the brush, and they dug him out. He had been hidden there because Muslim attacks had prompted the pujaris to hide him in the bushes. And when he was brought out and the worship started, then people came forward and offered a place for him to stay. Pujaris emerged from Bengal, and he employed them in worshiping the deity. Everyone wanted to offer something for the deity. Very soon a magnificent temple had emerged. It was built around Sri Gopal. And I see that in the building of our community, that as we faithfully try to follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada to spread the Krishna consciousness movement, at the same time maintain the Panchrakshika Vidhi, which he also emphasized. He did both. He said, spread Krishna consciousness and have deity worship. And the two together, he said, are like tracks that the train runs on. And as we do that, we see so many facilities coming forward by Krishna's arrangement, and we can't do anything else but depend on him for these types of things. It's not a normal type of business. And we see in the life of Srila Prabhupada, this is also fascinating to me, how movements start. What is it that starts a movement? Somebody has to be really motivated within the heart to make it go, because it starts with one person who has an intense desire. And it's like a little fire that jumps and catches and then grows. And from the heart of Srila Prabhupada, who was determined to spread the Krishna consciousness movement, who came to America and went by himself, shop to shop, to present his books, and went to the park by himself to sit down and chant, and who said later that, I didn't go to the Thompson Square Park to attract a crowd, I went to glorify Krishna. And look at the result. It was the emanation from his heart, that's intense and sincere desire to fulfill the order of the spiritual master, which conflagrated and which caught on. That's what caught on, and that's what catches on. It has to be the desire within the heart of the devotee that becomes externalized and spreads. So, more than anything, what's required is integrity. Required for what? For advancement in spiritual life and for the advancement of a community. Because a community is made up of individuals, and we depend on one another so much. In fact, we've felt the heartbreak of times when devotees in our community have separated from the community, and then we all feel it. It's a heavy-heartedness when someone's faith goes in a different direction. At the same time, we're nourished by the devotees that we see coming to do their service day in and day out because of their sincere and intense faith within their heart, and to maintain such steadiness, which is the hallmark of an advanced devotee, verifiable hallmark of and symptom of an advanced devotee. There are many symptoms which are not verifiable, but steadiness requires integrity, which means that each devotee is responsible within him or herself to maintain an impeccable standard of devotional service. It's particularly 4 regulative principles, chanting of 16 rounds with an eagerness to pay close attention to the holy name, and to fortify the intelligence on a daily basis by hearing from Srila Prabhupada's books. That's what actually makes a community, and that's what makes a movement. Because the movement in Krishna consciousness is based on Ananda. Radhanath Maharaj once told me when I was venting to him about the rigors of management, he said, above all, you must be blissful. He said, this is your main duty in life. As a manager, you must remain blissful. Because he said, our movement runs on Ananda. This is what it runs on Ananda. And one tiny little trace of Ananda can spread, and vice versa. Some faith diverted or lack of integrity also can infect others. So we live in an environment in which we are very much susceptible to the condition of the hearts of others, and we have to remain daily vigilant to protect our own hearts, to make sure that we're fortified moving forward in Krishna consciousness, and checking the spiritual health of the community in general to make sure that devotees are getting what they need, that they're feeling happiness, and that they're advancing in Krishna consciousness. So, I'm particularly impressed to see these paintings on the wall. These were painted at the time when Srila Prabhupada was present. He oversaw their painting. He looked at each one of them. They had been waiting for us in the archives at the BBT. And Jagarini and Dhriti went and picked out many of the paintings that the BBT allowed us to take. And I'm particularly impressed because it makes me feel as if Prabhupada is blessing us in this entire project, and Krishna is blessing this entire project by manifesting in these forms, and many other forms, but this is very representative of the feeling of this temple, how it's all coming together by the mercy of the Vaishnavas, and based on the sincere desire and integrity within the heart of all the devotees in the community. So I thank everyone here who's given their life, who has sacrificed to see the progress of this temple. And I thank all the visiting Vaishnavas in whom we see the reflection of our work. And when we see the smiles on your faces and hear the words of encouragement coming from you, we feel so satisfied that we've been able to stay here, participate in the Sankirtan movement, and attract your attention and your association. And we thank you deeply for that. Go Premanande Haribol! He's also had extensive experience with training the youth of ISKCON, something which requires, in my opinion, great concentration and austerity, but he seemed to do it with great ease and enthusiasm, and who now preaches all over the world in China, and I'm very happy to know as one of my close friends. Please welcome His Holiness Rathatbaj Swami.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. I just asked Giriraj Swami, what did you say after those three?
Yeah.
They're all on base. Oh, they won't know that now. They're all on base, and I have to get them in through home base now. What came to mind while listening to everybody speak, several things came out. And one was when Devamrita Swami said, pour the ghee on the yajna. And I was thinking that some thousands of years ago, the sages, they gathered at Naimisharanya to perform a 1,000-year sacrifice, not to get Mahaprasad, but for the benefit of the whole universe, what to speak of themselves and the place where they were staying. But they did this yajna for the benefit of the whole universe. And coming into here makes me feel like I'm amongst the sages of Naimisharanya who have gathered together all the paraphernalia necessary to perform not only a 1,000-year yajna, but a 10,000-year yajna to glorify and to promote, I would say promote and glorify the glories of Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we have, I was thinking, the yajna, they have the head priest. We have the head of the community here, our dear friend, his wife, who always takes good care of us. And they teach how to chant the mantra. Excuse me, sir, are you coming in or going out? How do you say it now, guys? That's the old one. Hi. Hi, how are you? I'm from San Francisco. Where are you from? This is the new mantra for yajna. And when you put the book in the hand, it's swaha. Open the book, the yajna is complete. I'll tell one story. I'll tell a couple of stories. I was on Sankirtan at the Kennedy Space Center. And at the Kennedy Space Center, they have millions of tourists. And as we got permission, because it's a government facility to work, we went through with the administration, and they were going through the different places that they thought we could distribute or not distribute. And first they said, well, inside the building, there's too many displays and it's too crowded, you'll bump into people, so that's probably not a very good spot, next to that spacesuit and everything. So we went out in the courtyard and they said, well, people stand in line for the IMAX theater and it blocks the road, so you guys can't go back and forth. And we went to this place and finally they said, would you mind just doing the parking lot? And we said, jive. And our first day out, we realized it wasn't just a parking lot. It was an organized parking lot where cars are, there's attendants, and they park the cars exactly next to each other. So we don't have to go from one end of the parking lot to the next, to the next, to the next. We just walk from 1, 2, 3, 4. It made it very easy. So my turn came up, there was 2 or 3 of us out there, and we distributed a very unique book for Kennedy Space Center called Easy Journey to Other Planets. So my turn came up and a car from Georgia came up, and it was a brand new, top of the line, black Mercedes-Benz with a Georgia license plate on it. And a gentleman comes out, and his wife gets out, and the 2 kids get out. And I go, welcome to the Space Coast. And the guy looks at me and he goes, you're here too? Is there any place you guys aren't? And he says, look, he says, I understand. He says, I'm a businessman. I go to airport, and I bought a few of your books. But I'm on vacation today with my wife and family. Can you just give me a little slack? And I said, sure. I said, I really appreciate the fact that you've got some of our books. This is really an important part of your life. You just may not realize it yet. But I said, I hope you have a really nice day at the Space Center. And he goes, well, thank you. And I said, sure, I'd like to tell you one story before I go, if you wouldn't mind. He goes, well, okay. I said, well, there was a guy just like you. There's a story in the Pranjana story where it begins, Raja Rajan, oh king, once there was a king, kind of like you, who was killing animals and it starts out like that. Once there was a king, and it tells a story to King Pachinabarja about King Pranjana. So I said, there was a man just like you with his family, and he was over on that side of the parking lot, and he was walking from there to the building, and he fell down with a heart attack, and he died. And the man looked at me and he said, I understand, I'll take the book. So you never know. I was sweating, so the perspiration was there, because it was hot in Florida. It's so hot that we would start at 10 to 8, and by 8 o'clock you could take your arm and go like this, and sweat would come out and steam on the pavement. Very, very hot. And perspiration and effort, and then Krishna's mercy. Because later on, one day, at that same Space Center, a lady came out in tears. And she said, I said, what you doing? What's wrong? Because she was sitting there and she came over to me and she was crying. And I said, what's wrong? She said, now I know why I came to the Kennedy Space Center. She said, I sat in there while my family did everything and I read this book. Because we would give, once they got that easy to on the planet, then comes out coming back, then comes out your precious yoga, then comes out Bhagavad Gita, depending on how far you can take them. And she got them all. And she was in there reading the whole day. And she said, "You made my vacation perfect. Thank you for it." Now I'll just tell one more story. No, I'll tell a couple. How many? Nicola, Monty,
I'm so involved, all right, I'm not looking at the slide. You have 10 more minutes.
Okay. I forgot the story. The lady came out crying, and she got the book, and she says, I'm just repeating it all. Unique things happen when we go out, and you never know. Here's the story I was going to say. We were working in Orlando, Florida, at a place called Wet and Wild. It's a swimming area where it has slides. And I was working with one other brahmachari, and one lady was walking down the sidewalk, and he said, "It's my turn, but you can have her. She's a Christian." I said, "I don't think so." He said, "I can smell him." He said, "If she takes a book, I'll get on my hands and knees and kiss the ground." So the lady comes by and I say, "Welcome to Orlando." And I handed her a Bhagavad Gita. And she says, "Oh, very good." She was from a foreign country, Europe somewhere. "I've heard of this book before." And she gives me $15. And my partner got down the ground and kissed the concrete. So you never know who is a candidate and who is not a candidate. You can't judge a book by its cover, to say this. When we go out on Sankirtan, it is a special time where you don't know what's going to happen. You can meet, Well, I figured it out one time. There is a verse in the Bhagavad Gita that says, out of many millions among men, I guess that means ladies too, one may be interested in spiritual life, and of those, one may be serious. So I figured it out, how many million people I would approach in a year, and it didn't even come up to one. So if I figured if I distributed more than one book a year, that I was getting some special mercy from her. Calculations figure out that. What do they say? You take one step towards Krishna, it takes 100 steps towards you. Something like that.
It started as 2, but...
And you never, okay, one more story. I just can't help it, I have to say like a slang word, which I hope nobody gets offended. But we're at the Florida Welcome Station. This is on the Florida-Georgia border. This is as conservative as it gets. And people are coming down I-75 from the Midwest. And so a nice man comes up with his wife, and his wife I stop him. I say, "Welcome to Florida." And I hand him a book, and I say, "We're passing out books on yoga and meditation, and we're just out here for the day, trying to, meet intelligent people who are interested." It just happened to be the second canto. Remember when in the old days when you had to get so many of the Bhagavatams that came out per number of Gitas you could get? It was like a ratio, because the new books would come out and you have to have those distributed along with the Gitas, so we couldn't just distribute Gitas. So he opens up the book in the middle, and the first thing he reads is stool-eating hogs. And he reads it out loud to me. He goes, "Stool eating hogs." And I just told him it was on yoga and meditation. So I don't know what to do now. I'm in a position where, you know, I'm going to tell him that the yogas and asanas or something. Next. So then he goes, "Man, he must have been a hungry SOB." But he said the words. And then his wife comes over, back from getting the brochures. And she says, "What's going on, honey?" He goes, "Oh, nothing." He pulls the book and hands me $10 and he walks to his car. He had to find out how that hog that was eating stew was doing yoga. And what kind of meditation that hog was doing. But in all seriousness, you can see a few stories and how happy we become, isn't it? The bliss of going out and doing that yajna. And we used to, I remember being out there, you know, just with one other devotee, and we would be meditating on all the other devotees around the world distributing books. I mean, you'd hear stories of like German devotees on the, what's that thing, that road? Autobahn, stopping cars on the Autobahn to read books. You know, you'd hear people doing this, doing that, and we'd be out there, you know, "Welcome to Florida," you know, nice to see. And when we could walk around the parking lot, we would know where they're from because they're license plate. "Nice to see you. What part of Michigan are you from?" Okay, they're not, you know, Michigan. But anyway. Mystic power or something. How many minutes? 2? Okay. So, I have 2 minutes left, so one point I got from ISKCON Prabhu, His Grace, was that the cooperation that this community put together to make this work it's outstanding. And in 1976, in Vrindavan, the devotees all went out in different groups during the festival, in different groups of Naga Sankirtan in different areas. And our temple president was with one group, and he came back a little early because he was a temple president. He could go into Prabhupada's room. And Prabhupada was sitting there with 1 or 2 people, and he looked at him, and he said, "I know you're not used to this type of life, but no matter how intolerant it becomes, please tolerate." So this tolerance that you have performed on behalf of Srila Prabhupada to come together as a unit has produced something wonderful. The churning of the ocean of nectar, or the ocean of milk. I'm sure there was a few things that came out, but ultimately we got the nectar of Krishna consciousness.
We have an intermission. Hare Krishna, and as one of the great treasures of our movement, we feel very fortunate that he lives in California and that he shows us favor by coming here on somewhat of a regular basis. So it's with great satisfaction that I welcome our cleanup hitter and His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj.
Thank you, Vaisheshika Prabhu, for that encouraging introduction and for this encouraging community and all the encouraging developments here. I don't know how important it is that I'm the cleanup hitter because there's no one on base. All the 3 batters before me hit the ball out of the park. It's already there. Anyway. So when I took my seat, His Holiness Ratatvija Swami asked me if I had had any realizations in my little excursion. And as a matter of fact, I did. I don't know how many of you have used the facilities here, but when I was using them, I heard the beautiful kirtan that Vaisheshika Prabhu was leading here in the temple room. And the sound system was excellent. Yeah, I'm always very concerned about the sound systems because Shabda, our whole process, is sound, and it was so good. And I thought, wow, even here, Vaisheshika Prabhu's protecting me. I can't fall. I mean, of all places, that's the place to fall into the bodily concept of life. But even there, Vaisheshika Prabhu was protecting me. The holy name was protecting me. And it was very clean. And in India, especially in Bombay, I would meet very big people in the material world. And one of them was D.P. Mandalia. He was like the prime minister of the Birla Empire. And he was the most highly paid employee in the world. Yeah. Just ahead of Robert McNamara, who was the, I guess, something in General Motors. And he told me that the first thing he did when he went to any Birla factory was to walk into the workers' bathroom. And he said by seeing how clean the workers' bathroom was, he could understand how the whole management was going on. So far, so good. I think in the appreciation of Vaisheshika Prabhu and the members of the community, one of the themes has been balance, holistic approach, and specifically the balance between the Bhagavat Marg and Panchatriti Vidhi. This is a very important principle in Krishna consciousness. thinking of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We are in the 175th year of his birth. So it's a special year for Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And how Srila Prabhupada took up his instructions and through Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And in the emblem of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's institution, which he formed to further the mission of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One half is Bhagavat Vidhi and the other is Tantra treatment. The two halves together make a whole. And I thought to read one verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, which very beautifully and sweetly explains the wonders of both of those processes and how they come together in temples. For the sake of time, I'll just read the verse once myself. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25, The Glories of Devotional Service. Text 35. Pashyanti te me ruchiranyam basanta prasanna bhaktrarunalochanani Rupani divyani varapradani Sakam vacham sprihanyam vadanti. O my mother, my devotees always see the smiling face of my form with eyes like the rising morning sun. They like to see my various transcendental forms, which are all benevolent, and they also talk favorably with me. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Mayavadis and atheists accept the forms of the deities in the temple of the Lord as idols, but devotees do not worship idols. They directly worship the personality of Godhead in his Archa incarnation. It's a long purport, and I would suggest everyone should read it and study it. Then the next verse, 36. Upon seeing the charming forms of the Lord, smiling and attractive, and hearing his very pleasing words, the pure devotee almost loses all other consciousness. His senses are freed from all other engagements, and he becomes absorbed in devotional service. Thus, in spite of his unwillingness, he attains liberation without separate endeavor. Now, we've also been hearing about the importance of a community, of individuals and a community that exemplify the teachings of wisdom in the books. In fact, of course, Srila Prabhupada said different things in different contexts, But in one conversation, a disciple asked Srila Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada asked a disciple, why is our movement successful? Why is our movement spreading? Which, unlike other movements. And in that context, the disciple said, because of your books. And Srila Prabhupada said, there are so many books. So many institutions have books. And then Srila Prabhupada answered his own question and he said, because my disciples live according to the books. That's what distinguishes, in Prabhupada, that's what distinguishes. Of course, if you're living according to his books, it means that you're reading his books. But the critical point is living according to the books. And what we just read about the devotees losing all other consciousness, I have seen with these deities in the other temple. During the kirtan's like so ecstatic. And I was watching like the devotees coming forward and just looking at Shri Radha Madan Mohan. Really, they were losing all other consciousness. I know, because they definitely weren't conscious of me, which is good. I was glad. And they were that's liberation. You're absorbed in Krishna, in Radha and Krishna, and you forget everything else. So that's the deity worship side, and now the book side. Here the word vilas is very important. Vilas refers to the activities or pastimes of the Lord. It is a prescribed duty in temple worship that not only should one visit the temple to see the deity nicely decorated, but at the same time he should hear the recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, or some other literature, which is regularly recited in the temple. It is the system in Vrindavan that in every temple there is recitation of the Shastras. Even devotees who have no literary knowledge or no time to read Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita get the opportunity to hear about the pastimes of the Lord. In this way, their minds may remain always absorbed in the thought of the Lord, his form, his activities, and his transcendental nature. This state of Krishna consciousness is a liberated stage. So, these books have really informed every detail of our lives, of our whole parampara, and specifically our lives. And we are so indebted to Srila Prabhupada for writing these books. Srila Prabhupada would take rest at about 10 at night, sleep maybe 2 hours, and get up at midnight and translate these books for us. And even in his last days in Vrindavan, when he was so weak that he could not hardly move or speak, he was just lying on his bed in Vrindavan. even then he was translating. You can see the pictures. He's lying on his bed, almost no flesh on his body. And Pradumna Prabhu's holding the microphone, and very softly, Srila Prabhupada was translating Srimad Bhagavatam. And his consciousness, I mean, theoretically, we could say, of course, he's a pure devotee, but his consciousness was perfectly clear. The purports that he dictated to, and I'm so happy here to see the picture of Lord Rama offering respects to little Krishna, because that pastime was the last chapter that Srila Prabhupada translated. And such perfect consciousness, those purports are extraordinary. And some people might think, oh well, Srila Prabhupada, he was reading the commentaries of the previous acharyas, and he quoted so many books, so many verses in his purports. He got the verses from the commentaries of the previous acharyas. And that could be true, that's our system. But when Srila Prabhupada was translating at the end, he didn't have any books to refer to. And his purports are full of references to verses from other scriptures. So it was all inside of him. And when we think of the trouble that he took to translate these books and of course publish them with help and get them distributed, we must want to absorb that knowledge. And it's not just knowledge, it's love. That was Prabhupada's love for us, that he was getting up after 2 hours and translating, hardly sleeping. There was a sort of humorous incident that took place in Prabhupada's last months in Juhu. We had a member of parliament was arranging for a meeting between Srila Prabhupada and the newly elected Prime Minister of India, Morarji Desai. And Morarji Desai was visiting Bombay. He had an apartment on Marine Drive in Bombay. And we had a friend who was a member of parliament arranging the meeting. And Srila Prabhupada said that he would meet the Prime Minister, but that the Prime Minister should come to Juhu to meet him. Srila Prabhupada said, I'm not proud that he has to come to me. I won't go to him. But unless the Prime Minister had the proper attitude of respect, the meeting would be useless. And he felt that if the Prime Minister took the trouble and made the trip to Juhu to meet him, it would show that he had the proper attitude. So we were waiting for the member of parliament to confirm it. And finally the phone call came at almost 11 o'clock at night. I was waiting for the call. And he said that the Prime Minister was very busy, his schedule was very tight. He would meet Prabhupada, but only at his place. So I went up to Srila Prabhupada's new quarters in the tower at Juhu. And I didn't know what to do, so I just sort of snuck around to the far door, and Srila Prabhupada was awake at the table with his dictaphone translating. And he saw me and he motioned, so I came. And he said that I was always praying to Krishna to be able to control my tongue. But now in this condition, I can't eat. And I can't sleep. And mating and defending, there's no question. So, I guess I'm liberated. And he was, and by this process, we can also become liberated. I shouldn't say become, I think you all are already liberated. We just have to stay close together, following Vaisheshika Prabhu and all the senior devotees who are guiding us. And we will all go back home, back to Godhead together. But we're not going home back to, we're already there. And that was my last realization when I was using the facility. Srila Prabhupada said that this material world is like a stoolhouse. You should do your business and get out. But listening to Vaisheshika Prabhu's beautiful kirtan, I thought it doesn't matter whether I'm there or here. It's the same. So we're already there. We're already back to God, and we're already liberated by Srila Prabhupada's and our Parampara's grace. Hare Krishna.
Again, we thank all the devotees for coming here to ISV. Any of you who have come while the talks were going on, we welcome you. There'll be events throughout the weekend to celebrate the opening of this oasis for spiritual knowledge, wisdom, and for the distribution of spiritual knowledge all over the world. And the next event is a memorial service for one of our founding members here at ISV, who particularly distinguished himself in a very wonderful way, and that is that he and his family came to ISV at the very beginning. And maybe some of you don't know the history, but Rohini Kumar Prabhu came up to the Bay Area with some of his brahmacharis, and they started a temple in a house. And when Sunday feasts are involved, the neighbors normally start to notice after a while that there's a big party going on every Sunday, and when they realize that it's a religious spiritual party, they sometimes become annoyed. So when they came and brought the deities, and they were living in the living room, and there was brahmacharis there, then the house gradually expanded into a storefront and a house, and an apartment, small apartment for the brahmacharis elsewhere, and then the householders took over the house. And then we outgrew the little storefront. It's like the story of King Satyvrata and the minnow he found in the lake and then in the stream, who was actually Matsya, and kept expanding and put me in a larger body of water. We felt like that. Everywhere we went, Krishna would expand his influence and more people would come, and then the landlord would come and say, you guys gotta go. You don't fit here anymore. And the haircutting salon next door to the Radha Krishna temple and the pizza place down the road agreed with him that we didn't really fit in. It was interesting though, because we had a storefront in a little strip mall, and people would walk by, wanting to get a haircut or get a pizza, and then you could see Radha Krishna, they were giving their darshan. They're so merciful. Shri Radha Madan Mohan would be looking out, and we'd notice all the time people walking by, and they'd stop and they'd look and say, what is that? What is going on here? So gradually we moved from that facility to the commercial building we just moved out of, which was a place of many happy pastimes. That place miraculously, although the temple room was tiny, just a fraction of the space we have here, somehow or other we accommodated on one Janmashtami through creative engineering of our genius Hansapriya and others who organized the festival. 3,000 people came to Janmashtami. And all the time we joke when people would come, they'd sit in that temple room and there wasn't enough room, we'd say, look it, we fit 3,000 people in here before, so no complaints, just move in a little closer. And at least 5 times during every lecture we'd have to say, everyone please move up, please move up. And then Krishna again forced us, as he did King Satyvrata, to put me in a bigger pond of water, and we came to this pond. And of course the big joke was, the first time we moved in here, devotees were coming up to me and tapping me on the shoulder and saying, Vaish, we need a bigger place. But that's the way it goes. When you're dealing with Krishna, the vibration expands, Krishna expands, and that's how the movement goes on. What can we do? But we live to accommodate Krishna and his needs, and as we do, the movement expands. So, in the beginning, a devotee who came in the early days of that house with his family and 2 little toddlers was Rakshit Jariwala and Sonal Jariwala and his 2 children. And they gradually became indispensable in the services of ISV. And I remember a big turning point when we were moving from this small place to a little larger place, and we had to move our books, which is a central aspect of our community, and we were wondering where to put them all. And we were thinking about renting a storage locker, and Rakshit said, and Sonal said, no, we want to have them in our house. In fact, they kept them there for some time, and then when we wanted to move them, they insisted that they start a center for keeping the books there. And that's what happened. And their house turned into Sankirtan Central. In an unassuming house in the middle of the suburbs, upper middle class suburb, you could see every weekend lots and lots of cars pulling up and people coming in and out of the garage with their trunks open. And we always mused at what the neighbors might think was really going on there. This doctor at Dr. Jariwala's house, what kind of commerce was he conducting out of the garage? And after all, the economy's down, and little did they know that the revolution was fomenting there in the middle of the suburbs. And Neil Jariwala, Nisha Jariwala, Sonal, all of them took up that service full-heartedly and began accounting for all the books, signing out all the books, and it became a joyous pastime going to their home, actually, being offered idli sambar if you came at the right time. And whenever, day or night, devotees needed books, they would say, just go to Sankirtan Central. And anytime they would call, and Sona would answer the phone, or Raksha would answer the phone, and then you'd get your books. Such a wonderful memory. And then we noticed Raksha's transformation over time. He was very astute scholar of Prabhupada's books, and one of his qualities was his attentiveness. He came to every single class without fail, and he would always be front and center in listening. And I noticed over time what an effect it was having on him, listening into the discussions of Shastra, the association of devotees in discussion, and he always had questions, and he always had very interesting realizations to present based on Shastra and so forth. But I particularly noticed how it was becoming more and more refined over time, and I saw in him the effect of hearing Srila Prabhupada's books over time. Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti hrid karn rasayana kata taj josha narashu apavarga varmani shararatir bhaktir anukramishati. That step by step, if one simply sits down in the association of devotees and submissively hears what they're talking about, then there will be a change of heart. It goes like medicine into the ears and transforms the heart, and then there's a step-by-step progression in devotional service, which leads to the highest position of exclusive surrender to Krishna, the personality of God. And that's exactly what happened to Raksha Jariwala, who made over a period of time, he thought about completely surrendering and becoming initiated. We talked to a lot of senior devotees about it. He considered it very carefully. It was not just a simple, yeah, sure, why not, kind of a process for him, but he thought about it from every single angle, and he wanted to hear every bit of Shastra, what it meant, why he had to go through that process and so forth. And then once he made up his mind, he made up his mind. Mm-hmm. And he became a completely surrendered soul, I must say. And I had the privilege of being with him through the whole process, and the extreme privilege of an intimate relationship with him as the guru-disciple relationship thickened and became real. I saw it before my own eyes and what it really meant. It was a heart-to-heart exchange, and it was based on realization and based on love and trust. And amidst that atmosphere, Raksha Jariwala became our beloved Rasika Shekhar Prabhu in a grand initiation ceremony. It was grand because particularly devotees wanted to come and be part of it. They wanted to be there with him when he made that commitment, because they had seen how much he meant to the whole community, how he had given his life step by step, how he was dedicated every aspect of his life to not only taking care of his family, his career, which was arduous, and he had to fly all over the world, take care of business, but he was so attentive to his services, so attentive to his service. Sometimes as the voice of ISV, he would prepare the offerings that we would make every month for our monthly Sankirtan festival. And Sona would tell us, his wife Sona would tell us how he would stay up most of the night. He was very sensitive also. And although he had a stoic external feature, his heart was very soft, and he was very sensitive. And he was extremely attentive to his service. He would stay up late at night compiling the scores. We've been perfecting the system over time and making it more efficient, but in the early days, it took a lot of work, right, Sonal? And Neil and Nisha, who all worked on it together. And So we all became very much attached to Rasika Shekhar Prabhu for all of his qualities. And we always talk about how this life is temporary, and recently I've attached myself to a statement Prabhupada has made in one of his classes about how this life is like a lightning flash in eternity. In fact, he says even the life of Brahma is like a flash of lightning in eternity. And we talk about it, I can be so glib about it and say life is so short and so forth. But such a perfect arc his life took in that he embraced the process step by step. He followed everything he had to follow. He developed firm faith. He took initiation. And then in the middle of our Christmas marathon, as he was fully absorbed, he always was fully absorbed. I mean, it meant everything to him that the book distribution would go on and that we'd make our goals. He just suddenly departed, very suddenly, without any warning. He was at work and just left his body. And I was in India at the time. I was in Govardhan. I'd just come back from my morning parikram of Govardhan Hill and came into the ashram singing, as I'm always feeling happy coming after the Govardhan parikram. And Keshavardi Maharaj, I looked at him and I thought, something's wrong, maybe I did something wrong, what happened? And he said, you have to sit down, I have some very heavy news for you. And I'd never seen him like that before, so practically the blood drained from my face before he even said anything. And he told me that Rasika Shekhar Prabhu had left our association. And then the mourning process began. Of course, the devotees were in shock here at ISV. No one's ever quite ready for someone to leave, especially not so suddenly, and especially not at when their momentum has hit such a pitch that we have great hopes, for that devotee and the service that they're doing, and we're so dependent and so forth. And therefore we were all left to wonder, as one does when a beloved devotee leaves, what Krishna had in mind with that. In fact, we asked that question many times. And still now, as we're gradually recovering, as one does over time, and accommodates the fact that this is a temporary world and appreciates the fact that Rasika Shekhar Prabhu gave his life and soul to the Sankirtan movement. It was therefore, there was nothing really to be lamented, only on our side, not on his side, but he did completely surrender and that he's gone on to do his service elsewhere. Still, he has become an integral part of this temple. His spirit lives on here, and it's palpable. And for that reason, today we're having our memorial service, which obviously I'm already in the middle of. And we're going to install a plaque and a picture of Rasika Shekhar Prabhu that we can remember as part of this community. Prabhupada, when Jayananda Prabhu left the world, said that his picture should be on every Ratha Yaja cart, and we should celebrate his disappearance day. And he became a part of the history of ISKCON, and that's what has happened in this branch of ISKCON, that Rasika Shekhar Prabhu has become a part of its foundation, a part of its spirit, part of the reason that we go on doing what we do in his memory and following his momentum and enthusiasm. Then we looked around and we said, okay, new temple, we're going to put a memorial plaque here for Rasika Shekhar. Where should we put it? And as we looked around, and of course, many of you might not know, but one of the largest rooms in the building is our book room. And it's down the hallway, and it's got a huge loft and lots of room for books, because as many of the devotees mentioned, this is a central point in our service here to distribute Prabhupada's books. And we thought, of course, his memorial plaque and picture must go just outside the book room. Hare Krishna. So we have that framed picture of His Grace Rasika Shekhar Prabhu. We have a memorial plaque. And we're going to now install the plaque and unveil the plaque, which is already installed. And we're going to unveil it. We're going to have a kirtan, and remembering Rasika Shekhar Prabhu, invoking auspiciousness for this day when we're installing or unveiling his memorial plaque. And that'll be just through that doorway, down the hallway, and on the left-hand side. I don't know how many of us can fit there, but at least the forward Sankirtan party can go in that way, and then everyone else can go by afterwards and see Rasika Shekhar Prabhu's memorial plaque. Over to you, Nirkula Devi Das.
So we welcome you all for this grand festival opening at the mountain view of Silicon Valley. And I hope you enjoyed this kirtan by Omkar Prabhu, Mridanga and music, and Rasikananda Prabhu, and Kartal by Priya Kishori, and Prabhuji from Sacramento. Thank you very much. Shravan Prabhu. Today is a big day at ISV because we have come through a long way, starting from small house programs and storefronts, and today we are here. It's almost like being in Silicon Valley. Everybody can understand because we have startups, and when an IPO is announced, everybody is happy, correct? Yeah. Today is the day we are being registered in NASDAQ. So we welcome you all to take part in this festivities this evening. And we'll be having programs till the 8 p.m. And now I welcome our dear President, His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu, to introduce the special guests.
Thank you, Gandhar Vikamataji. And yes, it's true. The history of Silicon Valley is that many entrepreneurs start in a small garage somewhere. Hewlett Packard, Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs started in a dusty little garage and then created some wonderful enterprise that spread all over the world. And we too have started in a little garage-like temple We've been in little garage-like temples for some time now. And gradually, the ISKCON of Silicon Valley has been expanding in marvelous ways beyond our imagination. And with the opening today, we're very much honored because the Honorable Mayor of, the City Mayor of Mountain View has come all the way over here and is going to address us for a couple of moments just so we can get to know him. This is the Mayor, the Honorable John Inks. Please welcome him.
Thank you very much to Bobby and Deepak and Vesh who invited me to this event. Glad to be here. Actually, I'm the mayor, but more than that, I'm a neighbor because I live right over Showers Drive. It's walking distance. And of course, in the city, most of the work that we do involves the police and the fire department, the library, your streets, and so forth. But an important part of this community is the rich cultural, spiritual, and religious aspects of the community that continue year-round. Even though we're on council break right now, there are a number of festivities that occur over the summer. So I was very glad to be here today for this one. Tomorrow we had another one. Chinese American is having a celebration in West End. So I certainly wish that everyone enjoy the rest of this wonderful event this evening. I'm very glad to be here. Thank you.
So you just heard that the mayor, his work is never over. It's council break, but here he is making the rounds everywhere. Let's give him another round of applause. Thank you very, very much. And now, back to... Yes, we have a little kirtan, and then the dancing will begin. So, back to our illustrious kirtan party.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare. Okay, yeah. Beautiful. So now we're going to be doing kirtan, which for those of you who are becoming familiar with it, is a call and response of this mantra. So there's a person who's leading the kirtan, leading the melody. So that leader will sing the melody once, and then everyone can sing back if you like. So feel free to be comfortable and sing from your heart. Also, if you need to talk during the kirtan, feel free to speak quietly. If you need to speak loudly, outside the kids can express their energy, their freedom. So we invite you all to participate in this meditation, and it'll only go a few minutes. We have about 10 minutes. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
I hope you all enjoyed the music by Omkar Prabhu. Thank you again, Omkar Prabhu. So, right now, we'll clean up this area in a couple of minutes and then we we would like to acknowledge the donors who made this dream possible. So no project can be successful without funding, right? But here at ISV, the love and care of our leader is so much that because of his endeavor and encouragement, so many people out of love made so much donations which made our $1 million wall possible. So we would like to acknowledge those donors and thank them for their generous contributions. So I would like to invite Jagarini Mataji to lead this program.
Hi Krishna, we've been waiting for this day for 8 years. Before we acknowledge the list of donors that we have, I wanted to first give thanks to a few special people that helped create this environment. Dripti Dasi and her husband Ram Das, they're not here today. I was hoping they were coming. But Ram Das actually created, he built the wall. He hand-carved the tiles that are on the frame on that wall. And more importantly, he carved the deity of Anantasesha for us. And that deity was installed in our groundbreaking ceremony. And as a result of that wonderful groundbreaking, this project went really, really smoothly. So I especially want, and Dripti also helped with the choosing the fabric of the curtains and any questions I had along the way. I wanted to thank them, and I wanted to thank Adi Nanduri, who helped me in the design of the altar and so many things along the way. And I'm really sad that she's not here today. But I also wanted to thank Dilip Bhai Prabhu. He's been a father to this project from the very beginning. He sponsored this beautiful deity outfit that the deities are wearing today. He sponsored the painting of the temple. He sponsored the cleaning up the landscaping and so many things, anything else that we've needed along the way. He's always looking out and doing whatever he thinks needs to be done. So I really wanted to extend appreciation. Can you come up for a sec? We have little gifts, small appreciation.
I just want to say, we just wanted a Hare Krishna temple in Silicon Valley, and I think we picked the right mountain view, and it's the right location, and we have the Stanford University and everything right in. So I think this Radha Krishna temple is going to be successful. Maybe we need a bigger place, like we say. Thank you.
We have limited time. I'm going to move on. I'm going to pass the mic over to Damara Prabhu, who will, and if you hear your name called, we'll quickly come up. We have a little acknowledgement gifts for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. We'd like to thank all of you who have come forward in from last year, January 2012, and over the last few months have been coming forward and supporting us. And this facility which is manifested today is all because of support from all of you. So can we get a big round of applause for all of you? We sincerely thank from bottom of our heart for all the sacrifices all of you have done in getting such a beautiful place. And this morning someone was saying we don't have a track of time because time just flies here. It's such a wonderful and peaceful place. What I'm going to do is, we have list of donors, and since we have been given till 6:50, and we'll call out the name, and if you are there, please come over, and then this is a small token of appreciation from our side. But we are planning to do a more bigger dedicated ceremony for just the donors, which will be done after this event. So later part of the, we'll have scheduled another function for that. Okay. So I would like to start with donors who have donated over 50,000 to begin with. Okay, 50,000 from last year, which is January 2012 till date. And I would like to start from Shraddha Mataji and Rakesh Prabhu. I know you are a big supporter of book distribution, and you distribute a lot of books, as well as you donate for the books, and you donated over 50,000 for the temple also. We wanted to just hear, what do you think while you were doing the donation last year?
Well, I was thinking actually about the time, about 6 years ago, when Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, I came in touch with that. It was left by one of the book distributors in the grocery store in Foster City where I live. And at that point in time, my lifestyle showed that I was headed for a guaranteed disaster. And I had a place reserved in the Kumbi Park Hell. And but my life changed in the next 7 days. That it took me to read the book. My life changed completely. And then for one book of Srila Prabhupada, I went on to read other books from him. And in all the books, there were two things which were common. And one was that you should find a spiritual master. And the second was that you should always perform devotional service in the association of devotees. So in trying to find out the two of them, one Thursday evening, me and my husband and I found ourselves in ISKCON of Silicon Valley. It was a very tiny temple. It was housed in a storefront in San Jose. The deities were very beautiful, but I can't say the same thing about the neighborhood. There was a dumpster and somebody had thrown some meat pieces in there, so it was rotting. There was a horrible stench there. And I was actually, I was horrified to see that, and I was thinking that this is happening to Krishna in Silicon Valley, where so many affluent people live. There are millionaires and multi-millionaires in this area. And so that thought that I should donate to the temple started, taking shape in my head. And then, whatever the temple actually lacked by way of infrastructure, it made a big time by way of the love and the warmth and the spiritual knowledge that I gained over here when I started coming very regularly to the temple. And then very soon I forgot that, it was 35 miles away from my home, it was not in the right neighborhood, etc., etc., etc. And it was this lovely place where I found and met exalted devotees from all over the world. And I made some lifelong, life-standing friendships over here. I also met my wonderful foster son. And last but not the least, I also found my spiritual master, His Grace Vyasashika Dasadikari, whose love of life was book distribution. And that put me in a dilemma, like, what do I do now? Do I donate for the temple or do I donate for the books? Till I found the magic formula. And the magic formula was that 50% of the proceeds from book distribution, they go into building temples. Yeah. The Krishna Balram temple in Vrindavan in India was actually built from funds that were raised here in USA through book distributions. Same goes for the temple in Bombay. And at this time, 50% of the proceeds from books all go towards building the temple in Mayapur in India, the BBT proceeds, and that is going to be the biggest temple in the world, and it's also going to be one of the wonders of the world. So, once I knew this formula, it was like, wow, that's great. And then that's not just the end of it. Vaisheshika Prabhu's vision is also to have this temple not only as a place where you worship the deities, but also as a place, it's like a Brihad Mridangam from where you spread Krishna's message of love of the soul for the Godhead. From here we spread it to all over the world, we broadcast it all over the world. Teams of people go out every weekend to do book distribution, door to door, store to store, like that. And then we also, we also take care of the future generation by having classes for the kids and so on and so forth. So this was like, wow, I found the magic formula, everything is so good, and even Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita, that spread my message. So to answer your question, that why would I donate? I would just ask the question, like, who would not want to donate after all?
Thanks. Now what we'll do is we'll go forward with another over 50,000 donor which we have is Akrunath Prabhu and Jagrini Mataji. And then one of our big friends who has donated over $150,000. His name is Narayan Gangadhar Prabhu and Sandhya Mataji. I think they are not there today, but let's give them a big round of applause. Like if we say that we bought this temple for 1.5 million, 150K, quick maths is 10% of the entire proceeds. So thank you so much. Now I would like to call Rajesh Prabhu and family. Rajesh Prabhu and Swati Mataji. Is Rajesh Prabhu? Yeah. Shamalangi Mataji. Thank you so much. Do you want to say just 30 seconds? Why do that?
In my village, a soldier donated 50,000 rupees when he earns 17,000 rupees per month. And when I heard that that was for a non-charity, for handicaps, that we were building a school in our village, I was challenging myself, what happens to me, why I'm so greedy. And that motivates me.
Thank you. Shyamalani Mataji donated over 27,000 last year. Next is Haladar Rupa Prabhu and Kumari Leela Mataji. They donated again over $23,000. Now our dear friend Dilip Bhai along with family donated over $22,000. You want to say something? Just because I want more Gujaratis to donate for us.
My father always says, if you don't donate, Krishna's going to take it away anyway. So that's what I've learned in life, that it's best to give to Krishna. Sooner or later, he's going to start taking things away from you. So, but in my case, I realized, as soon as I gave, Krishna always gives me back with interest. He tells me he doesn't like to owe anything. So that's why I keep giving more and more, and Krishna keeps giving me back. So what is, with interest. So it's good. That's why I like to keep donating.
Big round of applause for Dilip Bhai and his family. I just gave the number which was starting from January 2012. But if we add up the total support by Dilip Bhai and his family over a period of time, it's over $100,000 which they have donated so far. Next I'd like to call, again I'm still over 20,000, Prashant Kodat Prabhu and Hiral Mataji. Are they around? I saw them. Next is Govind Charan Prabhu and Rasika Shiromani Mataji. Again over $20,000. Now we have reached the category of, I will go from bottom to top, 10,000 all the way till 20,000. Trishab Chadha Prabhu, $10,000. he's busy with services, so we'll hand it over to him downstream, okay? Pushta Krishna, I want to just acknowledge His Grace Pushta Krishna Prabhu and his family for donating over $10,000. Then today, Manoj Gupta Prabhu is out of the town. Manoj Gupta Prabhu and Bhavna Mataji also donated over $10,000. Next, I would like to acknowledge Nilesh Prabhu and Neelam Mataji for donating over $11,000. There's a lot of festivity going inside, outside, but we can hand it over to them after this event. Shivas Pandit Prabhu, Malini Mataji for more than 11,500. We have next is Balimadan Prabhu and Ananda Mataji for $11,760.
It's outside.
Prabhu is busy with
It's outside.
Rath Yatra, okay. Can we see if some devotees can come inside for just 10 minutes? Sundaranand Prabhu, Vishaka Leela Mataji for over $12,000. Rath Yatra? Yeah, I'll just go through fast then if that is the case. Amit Goswami Prabhu, Raseshwari Leela Mataji over 12,600. Hari Sankirtan Prabhu, Puja Mataji, $30,270. Balimadan Prabhu, can you please come? So here is Balimadan Prabhu, Senior Director in SAP. Next is Mayapur Vihari Prabhu, Urmi Mataji, over 30,500. Motal Gita director also. Motal Gita is a project in which we are planning to place Bhagavad Gita close to Gideon Bible in each of the motel rooms. And as a matter of fact, budget hotels in US are now, most of them are owned by Indian Gujaratis. So it becomes a very big case of spreading this message of peace to the traveling souls. So give him a round of applause for that. Vishaka Leela Mataji, she is one of our directors for the Sunday school. So very academic. Barani Mataji over $18,000. She is not there. And this, I have skipped my name. No, that's fine. Anu Shadeja and Damodar Vamsidhari.
Sorry for jumping in, but we would really like to acknowledge Damodar Prabhu's great help in this new temple. According to me, he was really the initiator of this project, and but for the efforts of Dilip Bhai and Damodar Prabhu, honestly, we would have been much far from the temple. He did a great job in the groundwork, and of course, as you can see, he is in charge of the fundraising. On behalf of everybody, a deep gratitude to Damodar Prabhu for all his efforts.
Can you speak what motivates you?
I can do a quick, I didn't thought of it, I was just asking further. I think for me, when I went to Laguna Beach, earlier I was here, and I went to Laguna Beach and I saw a temple very close to the size of this. And I wanted to always return to Bay Area because of the love and leadership Vaisheshika Prabhu was giving here. And I was always thinking, I was praying to Shri Shri Panchatattva there to return to Bay Area and be instrumental in buying a temple for Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, which I am glad that it is manifested. Now we'll go down, donors from 5,000 all the way till 8,000. Yes.
I just want to acknowledge the leadership, love, and affection shown by our temple president, His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu, who is the force behind all the events that happen at ISV for its rapid congregation. His pure chanting, his total dedication to his own spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and his total mood of selfless service is the foundation for this community and this rapid expansion at ISV. Both he and Nirakula Mataji we owe them a mountain of gratitude for inspiring us, for encouraging us, for showering love upon us, and for giving their heart and soul for helping us advance in spiritual life. And we are forever indebted for their love and gratitude. And on behalf of everybody, I just want to give a token of appreciation to Vaisheshika Prabhu.
Nilesh Prabhu was here. Nilesh Prabhu, can you come here and get your token of appreciation? Nilesh Prabhu, he is behind all the audio video along with Ramanand Sakha Prabhu, tireless volunteer. He has donated over 11,000. Always love to be behind the scenes. So now going down, we have Raja Ram Prabhu and Kamini Mataji donated over $8,000 last year. Then we have Srinivas Dasari and Anuradha Mataji. They were here, right? Srinivas and? They left. They left? Okay. They donated over $7,300. Tejas Parekh and family donated $7,300. Kumar Prabhu donated $7,000. Damodar Vilas Prabhu over $7,000. Now then earlier Dikshit Prabhu. I think since there are so many activities happening and we told the donors to be inside, but looks like they are a little shy of acknowledgement. Tirtha Bhaumik and Suprita Mataji over $6,800. Shri Gopal Kameshwari Mataji, Ramanand Sakha Prabhu, over $6,000 for them. He's the temple commander of ISV and behind most of the services which you see here. And Mayapur guy just told that he has donated over 25,000 in Modal Gita. Hanspriya and her parents contributed over $6,000. Yay! She's the festival director, board of director, and she is behind all the great festival you are seeing for us. Rameshwar Singh Prabhu have donated over $6,000. Shri Kumar Prabhu and family over $5,700. Vrindavan Priya Prabhu and Bhavani Mataji over $5,500. Bhaktvatsalya Prabhu over $5,300. Busy cooking the feast, and he is our head of Pujari department, many things. Ballabh Bhimani Prabhu, I think he is outside. He also donated over, let me see, $5,400. Satish Palakuti, in-laws of Ravi Prabhu, can you also walk in? Yes, please. Okay, so parents of Satish Apalakuti, so they will receive the tokens on behalf of their son. Thank you so much. Alak Kumar Prabhu and Kavita Mataji, over 3,500. Niral Shah and Khyati Mataji. Mukhar Ravinda Prabhu, 3,400 plus. Shri Krishna Purushottam Prabhu and Aparna Mataji, our Sankirtan leaders, they have donated over $3,000. Hari Guru Prabhu donated over $3,000. Mahesh Govinda Prabhu has donated over 2,800. Subhashini and Chaitanya Charitamrita Prabhu from Modesto, they have donated over 2,800. Ravikant Mohite and family, 2,700 plus. Narayan Veera Raghava Vidya Mataji, 2,700. Kailash and Kala Mataji, 26, they were part of our congregation now in India. Anil Prabhu, 2,500. Jaya Lakshmi, Jaya Balan, 2,500. Nirukla Mataji and Vaisheshika Prabhu, over 2,500. They were there, but that's fine. Manju Lakshmi Gopal, 2,300. Ravindra Kumar, 2,100. Vivek Nama and Leena Singh, 2,100. Shiva and Meera Singh, 2,000. Abhijit Banerjee Prabhu, 2,000. Balaji Prabhu, 2,000. Madras Ravi Kumar, 2,000. These are generally of the tithes, you know. Sai Raya, Deep Star Inc. We have Sunal Mataji, you want to come?
No, Srinivas.
Both of you can come. So first, Srinivas Prabhu, please give a round of applause for Prabhu. And then Sonal Mataji, our wife of dear friend Rasika Shekhar Prabhu. Narayani Mataji from Los Angeles. Is she around? She also donated a time. There she comes, yeah. Yeah, thank you. Ravi Kant Mohite and family, over $2,000. Jane Banma, Goda Venkata, Prem Vilas, Vedavit Prabhu. Vedavit Prabhu. I think he is again outside, I will collect from him. Abhishek Prabhu, Jaya Jaybalan. So these are the list of devotees who have donated over $2,000. With that, I think I have gone to the list of what I wanted to read right now for the time being. All of you would have seen the wall outside, that's called $1 million wall. And most of you who I said also have contributed for the $1 million wall. And why it's called $1 million wall is it has 500 tiles and each tile goes for $2,000. So if you sum it up, multiply it, it becomes $1 million. And all the proceeds which are coming here goes for building of this temple. And in case you want to sponsor a tile for yourselves or your dear ones, you can contact me or any of our staff which you see volunteer here, and we'll be glad to take your order on that. With that, we'd like to thank all our donors of ISV, and we're looking continued support from all of you. And we are sure, yes sir. Mine, 24,397. Over $1 million last year we collected, and this year I have not done the complete summation of it yet. We are aspiring to raise close to 500K in 2013. Yeah. So in case few of you are feeling inspired, it's a very auspicious occasion and any amount is significant. There are a lot of volunteers who are walking around. If you want to pay through credit card, we accept that, checks. Whatever you want, every small help goes big step for us. So with that, I'll hand it over to Mataji to take the next part of the function. Thank you so much for your help. Hare Krishna.
So next performance will be flute. Flute is the main important instrument in Krishna consciousness. As you see, our deity Radha Madan Mohan holding the flute in his hand, because he attracts many souls by playing the beautiful melodious flute music. So what we'll do is we'll take a couple of minutes to set up the stage again, and then we'll have the flute performance. So at ISV, our tradition is to fill in the gaps with the holy name. So while they are setting up the holy name, let's all chant Hare Krishna for a few minutes.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna,
Savarkar. He started learning Hindustani musical at a very young age, and he got very attracted to the soulful and the melodious style of the Bansuri performances by Padma Vibhushan Pandit Hari Prasad Chauriza. And he's a musician by passion and an engineer by profession, and he has a postgraduate degree in management. So he's going to soothe our soul with his good music. So please join me in welcoming Prasad Madhukar and his son.
Unfortunately, I play Bansuri, so Bansuri doesn't have words, but I will explain to you the words before I play the bhajan itself. The bhajan describes Krishna as thief. So the verses are Braje Vasantam Navanita Choram. The one who resides in Brajbhumi and stole butter, Navnita Choram. Right? Gopanganaya Gokula Choram. The one he also stole Gopi's clothing. Okay? Not only that, Sri Radhikaya Hridayasa Choram. He also stole the heart of Sri Radhika. And the fourth verse is Chauragra Ganye Purusham Namami. Means I pray and go to such a biggest thief. So Shri Krishna Shamam Manasa Swarami. I pray to Lord Krishna. Okay? It is based in Hindustani rag called Pilu, and I'll play a little bit of that and one of these for. bhajan we are going to play is based on a rag or Yaman Kalyan. It is actually in Kannada language. How many of you are Kannadigas? Good. So the lyrics of the words of this bhajan are Krishna ni begane baro. Krishna, please come soon. Say goodbye. third bhajan we are going to play is actually a Gujarati bhajan. This bhajan is very, very famous. Almost all of you probably know this because this used to be Gandhiji's favorite bhajan.